Hello from Blue Willow Bookshop in Houston, Texas. My name is Kathy Berner, and I'm the event coordinator here at the shop. We are so excited to host this virtual event celebrating the release of The Bright Spot, which is Jill Shalvis's new book in the Sunrise Cove series. Jill will be in conversation with author Tessa Bailey. Please join me in welcoming Jill and Tessa to the screen.
Did we do it?
We got you! We got Jill! We got you!
We're live!
That's it. No more event. We did it. You both turned on your cameras. We're fine. It's amazing. I'm gonna tune off and let all of y'all talk in a second. But Jill, I just have to tell you that I'm such a massive fan. And like 8 years ago, we were on vacation as a family, and I ignored my family because I read the entire Lucky Harbor series.
Oh my God, that's 12 books.
Yes, it is. And I like the Wi-Fi in the house was bad, so I kept running up to the pool where it was stronger to download the books from the library and then running back downstairs to the house.
That's so
But
sweet.
it was amazing. And Callie and Tanner remain my favorite ever.
Thank you for telling me that, because today was one of those days where I couldn't put two words together at all. And I was sure I was washed up. It's over.
No,
So
you're amazing. I love that book so much. I reread it when we booked the event with you, and it continues to bring me so much joy. So anyway, y'all aren't here to hear me rave about Jill. You're here to listen to Tessa and Jill talk about their amazing work. So I'm going to come back on in about 25 minutes, and I'll act as audience surrogate and ask those questions. So be sure to throw those into the Q&A and have a great conversation.
But thank you.
yeah. Well, hello, Tessa.
Yay! Isn't that nice to hear from somebody on your release day?
So nice, especially like when you have, I'm sure maybe you don't have one of these days where you cannot put a sentence together to save your life. That sounds okay.
I mean, I feel like I start off the day that way every single day. And like I have to like really remind myself that I have like this ability to write sentences. It's kind of like it takes a while to flow. So I have bad moments all the time. All the
So,
time.
so many times, but it is a job and I always force myself back to it. But the doubt runs deep.
Yeah. So you had some internet trouble getting on here.
I'm so well, we live in the mountains. We've had nothing but storms. We've had nothing but really bad internet. So I was really freaked out about that. And then my Zoom decided.
I saw in your bio that you live in the Sierras in a small town full of quirky characters. And I was like, do you live in like a romance novel small town? And what does like a trip to the supermarket look like for you?
First of all, I was born in New York. I've lived in LA all of my life. We came here when I was an adult to a very small town. So I've only been in LA and back east, New York, New Jersey. We came to this town where if you go to the grocery store, you see your gynecologist in aisle 1, your dentist in aisle 2,
Oh,
the teacher, the principal in aisle 3. And let's say, I raised 4 teenagers, so I never wanted to run into the principal in the grocery store.
oh,
So, I mean, to me, it was just a joke. I had no idea that small towns were real. I thought it was a cliche, but they are real.
wow. So do they still call you like a New Yorker, even though you've been there forever?
If anybody's in the car when I'm driving, they do. Why that is. I drive like a New Yorker.
Maintain your road rage.
Where are you settled?
I'm on Long Island, in a town called Floral Park, and so we're really close I saw a lot of people from Long Island in the chat when we first signed on. So I'm curious where everybody is on the island, but we're really close to the city. So we actually like the border of our town is Queens. So I feel like I'm still connected in some ways. It's only like 25 minutes to the city. Not that I ever go anymore. I feel like I'm so like spoiled now that I have a driveway. I'm like, why would I have to go? I don't want to go park places. I don't want to like have to deal with parking. That's the big New York complaint. But yeah, okay. We have to talk about let's talk about your book. We have to focus in here. We only have like 20 minutes to chat, you and I. So let's talk about The Bright Spot.
Okay.
To those of us who have to those of the people here who haven't had a chance to read this amazing book. Give a rundown of what's the plot?
We got a heroine who's kind of a hot mess on the inside, is running a tree farm a struggling tree farm here in Tahoe, which is where I'm based, not too far from Tahoe. And she also rescues other farm animals. So in this farm, she's got like a rescued baby cow who's been orphaned, and a goat and geese, and any farm animal you can think of is just walking around this farm. And it's a struggling farm, so they bring someone else in to help her run it. And he's a sexy CPA in a suit, and she's, jeans and boots and has questionable stains on her t-shirt. And so they really are opposites. And I haven't done that in a long time. It was so much fun.
I feel like opposites attract to me is like, I don't feel like I can get away from it. I'm always trying to find like my favorite characters perfect opposite, and then like I go from there almost every single time.
It's brilliant. I don't know why I haven't thought of this sooner, because it's a built-in conflict. And for people who aren't writers, we're writing contemporary. We're trying to be funny but emotional with a conflict that's believable. And we don't have ghosts, and we don't have a zombie apocalypse, and it's hard. So opposites attract is pretty nice. I might be doing it again very soon.
Next book,
Yeah.
it might help you get those sentences together, right?
Yeah.
Just build in the conflict. So not only do we have these two amazing characters, Luna and Jameson, but we also have this like great cast of secondary characters. And one of the major themes in the book is like found family. And can you talk about that? Why was that so important to you to kind of like portray that?
Well, not everyone's born with blood relatives that are good or kind or welcoming or whatever. And Luna happens to be one of those people where she's been burned by the people she's actually related to. And she has created a family. She's created her own family of these mismatched misfits, so to speak. And to her, they couldn't mean more than if they were blood related.
Yeah. Do you think all of them are going to get books?
Love to do that, but I made the mistake of putting 2 romances in this book and solving them both.
Oh, you can't solve 2 romances in one book.
I fell in love with the characters. I had a hard time walking away from them when I was done, and so I would have loved to have gone back. Maybe I'll find a way to go back.
Yeah. I feel like I was only the current series I'm writing was only meant to be 2 books, and then I met like the teammates and then that was it. It was over. I was like, okay, well, I guess it's gonna be a 10-book series. Secondary characters get you every time.
Yeah, I just read the hockey novella one same time next year.
Yes, yeah.
Love that. I need a story for every person that didn't get their story, and only 2 of them got their story. You have a lot of people to work with.
Right? I think like the brother was kind of right.
Please, that was so great. He was a great character.
So tell me, like, what do you hope that readers take away from this book, or any book? Like, what do you always hope a reader takes away from your book, but like especially the bright spot?
If I have made people laugh and feel emotional and just feel good by the end of it. We're writing romances, so that's no secret. If you get to the happy ever after and you felt something, then I have done my job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, do you think like emotional depth or laughter and enjoyment are more, which is more important to you, like when you're writing? What do you think about?
For me, it's a tangle of emotions, and you have to burst them all open. I think for me, I like to have a dark backstory, because then I can be funny, because I think they go so, it sounds weird, but the dark backstory and humor make the book. It's the combination. You do that brilliantly. So I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, and you do it brilliantly as well. I think, yeah, it's like definitely a balance, kind of like knowing when you need to pull back a little bit and inject some humor, but also when it's time to like really have an emotional impact. It's just kind of like a dance, right? That you kind of, it's instinctive. Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about your characters, Luna and Jameson. Like, what are they like? Did they have what was like the meet cute for this book?
The meet cute is Luna's in a bad place. A lot of bad things have happened to her right before the book opens, and she has not spent any time for herself. She's trying to keep her people afloat, who mean everything to her, and if the farm fails, her family doesn't have a place to be. So they go to the bar, her and her best friend has convinced her to do something she's never done before, and that's have a one-night stand. she's like, you need this. You need to get some emotion, so to speak. And so that's what she sets out to do. And her and the hero meet that night. And it doesn't go as planned, but that I don't want to spoil anything, but that was where her mindset was in the beginning of this book.
You always need that sort of like best friend instigator character, you know, who's
Yes.
like, you know what you need?
Yeah.
You need to get laid. And then, yeah, the one that encourages someone to make a, you know, a hasty decision and thus kicking off the entire, it's like chain of events.
Because in fact, Luna believes that's all she's good for, is like, she doesn't have the emotional capacity. She's emotionally bankrupt at the moment.
Right.
And so, you know, she's like, well, how bad can that might be awesome, because then there's no awkward morning after or anything like that. Little does she know, it all goes awry.
She has such an wonderful arc as well by the end of the book. So that's such a great place to start. So what would you say the like number one quality that you need to have in the heroes that you're writing, and like the number one quality that you like always need to have in your heroines? Like, do you have something that you feel like in order for you to root for them, in order for you to feel like their best friend and want them to succeed, is there like something that they need to have, a personality trait?
For me, for both the hero and the heroine, they have to have heart. Like, I don't care how down and out you are, or if you're going to be like the rich asshole alpha hero, or if you're going to, whatever kind of hero, there should be a million different kind of heroes, but they all, for me, need to have a heart. I don't care if you're morally gray. I'm not talking about that. Like, you can be morally gray and have a huge heart.
So yeah, that's true.
That's the most important thing for me. And then next, it would be, and I don't do this every time, because, you know, every hero should be different, but a sense of humor and the depth and the ability to go deep with emotions, even if they think they don't have it. Those are the most important things for me, you know, and good abs.
You cannot underestimate the good abs. I mean, that is its own character. That gets its own book character pretty much, right? Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Like the ability to go deeper with emotion, even if they don't realize they have it. I think that's one of the most rewarding parts of a romance novel, is when like one of the characters who thinks that they are emotionally bankrupt suddenly has the ability to like look deeper just because of this person in their presence. And
realize that they're caring, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah, it's rewarding, because then you realize, like, I think what we want out of a romance novel is to believe that this person has found their only special person in the world, and there's nobody else that could fit this bill, right? And so when they are like able to stretch emotionally with this person, it's like proof of that. And it's so satisfying every single time.
Every time.
So a personal question, sort of. Do your friends and family read your books? Do people in your house read your books? Do they critique you? Do they talk about it with you?
My husband prefers not to. He will if I ask him to, but he doesn't want to. And my daughters, I have 3 grown daughters, and 2 of them are huge romance fans of yours, actually, by the way. And I think they read me, but we don't discuss, because here's the thing: no one wants to know that their mom knows how to have sex. They don't. So they're very proud of me. They always go to the stores. They always look for my books, send me pictures. They're wonderful, but we don't necessarily talk about the stories.
I think that's okay. I think it's okay for everybody to have their like. So my husband is reading one of my books for the very first time.
How's that going?
It's going well. It's going slowly. He's just not a reader, you know? He's just never been a big reader. And I kind of like having my own secrets. Like, I like having a story in my head, and I'm the only one that knows what's going on and what's going to happen. And because like we live together and we share everything, and we're always together, and like we have no secrets except for what's going on in our mind. So I think it makes me feel like my own person sometimes, to just have that and carry it around with me.
I see that. I can see that.
Yeah. But like,
and she's probably too young still, right?
She's 12, but like I think, you know, she's getting there, because like not like kids like in only like 1 grade higher than her are reading like Icebreaker, and like that's gone viral in her group of friends. And so I'm like, she's like one step away from one of her friends picking up one of my books. Maybe they already have, I don't know. And so I think it's imminent. But like that's okay. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's like I started reading romance when I was 14. How old were you?
I think I was 13.
13.
Yeah, it was my sex education, really.
Yeah. But it's like healthy because you like people always say it's unhealthy to like read these books and have your standards go too high. And I'm like, I don't think it's a bad thing to have high standards. I think it's a healthy thing. And
Mhm.
also these books where the characters have agency over their sexuality and you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And I'm like, how could that be a bad thing? Just because there's a BJ in it, whatever.
It's healthy. It's healthy to have high expectations.
I
Really.
agree. I agree. So yeah, my husband's reading Fangirl Down, and only because there's a golfer in it. So that's what it took. 55 books. I
I'm
wrote
so
a
excited
golfer.
that
He's in.
the publicist sent me that book. I am very excited about it.
So my next question is, do you have a celebrity crush?
Oh, I have fictional crushes. Does that count?
Yes, I guess. Yeah. There's celebrities in our world, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So right now, I'm reading the ACOTAR series
Oh.
and so first, don't blame me, but I had a crush on the wrong one. I had a crush on Tamlin, had to kill him off in my head. Now I have a crush on Reese, and he's pretty much or Asriel or Cassian. I don't care. Any of those three are my crushes. How about you?
Oh, well, I mean, I have like a real life crush right now. And to be honest, he's been my real life crush for a while, since the last Super Bowl. And um, I feel like he's been in the news a lot in the last couple of days because it's Jason Kelsey,
Oh,
not Travis, Jason.
this was boyfriend.
Taylor Swift's future brother-in-law, probably.
Mhm. I
And I just love him. I love a pouty man bear. I love a man with a real body and like salt and pepper hair and just like loves his kids. And I have such an adoring crush on him, honestly. He's my favorite of the two by far. I mean, not by far, like I love Travis as well, but like I love Jason and I love his whole vibe. So
you
that's
should
my celebrity crush.
watch this documentary on Prime.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, good.
It's
That
so good.
that sealed my
Uh,
crush.
yeah. So nobody like a real person at
I
all.
mean, if I had given it some thought, I would have admitted it was Jason too for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but I also have always had a thing for um all of the Chris's,
All
all
of
of all of, you know, if I'm
simultaneously.
I mean, I wouldn't. My husband and I have this joke that we have a list of 5 people that we could, if they came knocking on the door,
All
we could
passes.
hold passes. And all 5 of mine are fictional. So I really, I don't know what to say about a celebrity crush other than for sure like a football fan because we watch a lot of football. So Jason for sure. But other than that, it's those Bat Boys from ACOTAR. It's still Ranger from the Janet Ivanovich series,
Oh.
and Rourke from the J.D. Robb series.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that is a good one. Wow, I
Mhm.
haven't thought of him in a while.
I know I haven't read him in a while, but yeah, if he came
An
knocking,
all-time, he's a Hall of Famer.
yep.
Yeah, no, those are really good choices. I think I know I'm like as soon as we started saying Hall Pass, I started thinking about what a great romance novel that would be. If like there
I
was a
love it.
marriage that was kind of like in trouble, like you had two people that were like kind of growing apart and they were like not communicating well and they started sleeping in separate bedrooms. They still love each other, but like they're so busy and they've like lost the spark. But then like one of their hall passes shows up and then it just like really they're like, "Oh, my hall pass is here. You always said." And then the other one's like, "Well, hold on a second." And then they have to like fight back for their love. And
Like it.
like wouldn't that be great?
Yes, and you have the title Hall Pass.
Hall pass. It's a sold to Amazon for $1 million.
To be a sex story for when it happens to the other spouse, when they're a duet.
What if there's like a movie being filmed in town and it just happens to be starring both of their hall passes?
Oh my God, that's why they're both there.
Yes. But the whole time, the movie stars are actually just trying to fix this married couple back up. And so they don't really aren't trying to like seduce them.
But
It's
someone
like,
to do that. Someone in town wants the original couple back together, got the stars involved. It's a town effort, a small town effort.
that's the only way they'll let them film there.
Yes, if they do.
So unrealistic. Everybody suspend your disbelief for Hall Pass coming to a shelf near you. Okay, so let's talk about your heroes, like the heroes that you've written collectively. If you could smear honey on one of them and lick it off, which one would it be?
Well, it's usually the one I've just finished, so it's the one that no one has read yet. But let me back up. The guy, Jameson, in this book, in The Bright Spot, was different for me. I usually write like a reluctant hero or a blue collar hero, someone who's struggled to be, who doesn't. Jameson comes in this fancy suit and he's all like sarcasm and quick wit, and he thinks he has a black heart, and everything about him from the start was so different for me that I wanted to lick him like a lollipop from the start. And I still feel that way. I don't know why I ended up writing that kind of hero, because it was, again, type for me, but I loved it.
Okay.
And
There's
that
something said for that cockiness.
The books I've read in the past, you've always had alpha. Okay, but the book I just read of yours, Sumner, he presented as a beta. That was new for you.
Well, he was definitely like he was non-aggressive, but he was like sprung from the beginning, but he was not willing to impress his
when he
woman.
got into the bedroom, that changed, but like in general, sweet teddy bear, like just a really warm-hearted, lovable guy from the start. And I just felt like that was actually a little different for you. What made you try that?
I'm not sure. I like something about Britta. Like sometimes when I get two characters on the page together, I won't really know what I'm going to get from that dynamic until they're there and like I can see them interacting. And so Britta came on very assertive, and I thought, like, what if that's the thing that really attracts him to her? Because it was attractive to me, her assertiveness and the way she was like very confident in herself and she knew what she wanted, or at least that's how she presented, you know. And I just thought like this big giant hulking man, this kind of soft-spoken man, like wouldn't that be so appealing to him? And like, let me play into that, let me use that. So I kind of like,
I loved him.
Thank you, I appreciate that, thanks. Okay, so I have just one more question, and it's an easy one. What's your cocktail of choice?
Well, I'm borderline diabetic, so I always have to choose between eating my sugar or drinking my sugar, and I will always choose eat my sugar. So the better question would be, what's your favorite dessert? Because that's what I'll usually choose.
What's your favorite dessert then?
Anything with sugar, but mostly it's cookies. And I don't even care. Store-bought cookies, homemade cookies. I have a cookie problem. If I was allowed to drink, my favorite drink before we figured out what all this problem was, it was vodka and lemonade or vodka and cranberry.
Yeah. My daughter's a diabetic, but she's a type 1 diabetic. And yeah, the drinking it seems to be the one that's always, you can't just like drink your sugar. It's just too potent. Yeah.
It's so,
I can help it is.
Oh, hello.
Hi there.
Okay, so I have commentary. First of all, Hall Pass needs to be written by the two of you.
It's so good.
It is so good. I love I can totally see Callie's grandma in like making the deal to let it be filmed.
Yeah, with the mayor. The mayor is like,
yes, like I can see that. I can see that. But like the two of you need to write it together. Please sell it to someone who's not Amazon, so indie bookstores can carry it in their stores.
Okay, fair enough.
I would. Oh my God! I like seriously sell that book, please, please, please. On the note of indie bookstores, Chris Pine is the best Chris in terms of indie bookstores. Just in case you want to know. He's an
11. He's an 11.
And he's always photographed coming out of bookstores in LA with massive bags.
Mm-hmm.
We love it. We love him. We love him for that.
And not that you asked me, but one of my fictional crushes is Wes from Sarah Dessen's The Truth About Forever.
Oh,
it's a YA book. I read it 25 years ago.
Everybody put your fictional crush in the
Oh yeah, put your fictional crush in the chat. And I'm going to send it. I'll send that, like, I'll tally a list and send it to everybody.
Yeah, I want a graph.
Yeah, you know what? I would make that. I would figure out a way to make that. Okay, now we're going to move to Q&A. And most of them are for both of you. Cool. So for both of you, from Joanne, what made you decide to be a romance writer? Jill, why don't you go first?
I was a journalism major in college, and they kept having me write stories. They liked the way I wrote, but then I was bored by them, so I kept putting in, little things that weren't true, and I kept F's. And so I finally said to my teacher, "Why am I getting F's?" And he says, "Because you're not writing." I said, "Yes, I am. I want to do this. What's this called?" And he said, "It's called lying." I figured out that I was supposed to be fiction, not nonfiction.
That's awesome. Tessa?
So it's kind of just like it evolved over time, but I mean, I used to sit and stare at the wall for hours at a time and just like make up stories in my head. And the only thing I've ever loved is romance. And so when I had my daughter, I didn't have like a career. I didn't have like any direction. I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do. And I was like, once I had this baby to take care of, I realized I needed to figure out really fast, like, what I was good at, because I wanted her to be proud of me. And so I sat down and wrote my first book, and I was kind of shocked that I could finish one, but it really just came to me in sort of like increments.
That's amazing. Both of you, when you write series or books set in a world, not collaborative, like companion novels, do you plan out all the books in the advance, or do they come out one book at a time? Tessa, let's start with you.
So I usually know like who I'll usually plan the series around, like whether it's like a friend group or like a series of siblings or something like that. And so I know like who the main, like I know who at least one of the characters getting a book are gonna be, but sometimes I don't know their love interests until they just show up on the page. Like in It Happened One Summer, when Fox showed up, I didn't realize that Fox was going to be Hannah's Hannah's love interest. And then the second he got there, I was like, oh, there's my book, there's my guy. And it just kind of, and then it just like the whole world just kind of like weaves itself together for the next book.
For me, I usually 3 stories kind of come to mind, or 3 siblings, or 3 heroes, or something comes to me, and usually a trilogy. And I usually don't plan the second and third story out. I just start the first one and hope for the best, and kind of bring the other characters into that first story so I can see who would come second, who would be naturally second, who would be naturally third. I love writing connected stories.
So when you did Lucky Harbor, did you do 4 sets of 3?
Yes.
I think you did.
When I did Lucky Harbor, the first 3, it was supposed to be one book. And I was supposed to put all the 3 sisters in one book. It was going to be the novel. And I couldn't do it. I tried really hard, and I finally said, how about I just give you one book, but it's just the one sister and the others will play very small parts. And then I wrote that one book, and they're like, okay, now you got to go write book in 2 and 3. So that was an accident, a happy accident. And then the next trilogy, I just said, okay, here's the next 3 books. Do you want them? And thankfully they said yes. So I just kept writing in trilogies. I liked that. And yet everything was connected with another.
It was great.
Thank you.
We're all wearing turtlenecks. Did you realize that?
Well, it is very cold.
Wow.
I mean, this is Houston, Texas, and I am in a turtleneck and a wool sweater because the homes in Houston are not made for 30-degree weather.
The last time I was in 120 and rainy.
It's often what it's like. Here's one from Susan. For both of you, do you have an image of your characters when you make them, when you create them, or do they take on, like, did they develop as you're writing?
They develop, for me, they develop as I'm writing. I don't actually know what they look like at first. I kind of write the first chapter before I know much.
Yeah, it's like it seems like their personalities, like once it's sort of like once you've sat with their personality for a while, their face starts to take shape a little bit. But it's weird, like when I'm writing scenes, I don't see facial features as much as I see like the outline of how I picture them, like their head and their hair, and then their voice. So it's almost like a warm outline and a voice. But then sometimes after the fact, like I will see an actor or somebody and I will be like, oh, wow, I really wish I'd pictured him because I think I could have added some texture. But like it's really strange. It's almost like I don't want to picture a real life person because I don't think anyone can measure up to this fantasy I'm creating. Like I don't really want to have anybody concrete. I want it to be like my own creation. So sometimes I just avoid that.
It's exactly the same for me. I cannot pick. And I actually think that's healthy for the readers too, because everyone wants to make their own vision in their head of what they look like.
Yeah.
And I don't with that.
Yeah. Same way. Same way.
Agreed. As the reader, yes. Here is one from Kim for both of you. Which one of your books gave you the most trouble when you wrote it, and which book was your favorite book to write?
They're all so hard.
Yeah, I can tell you that the one that gave me the most trouble was a book called Fix Her Up. I had to rewrite it twice, which was painful. I've never had to rewrite a book before, but my editor and I just like we just couldn't make it work for some reason. The hero, she kept really hating the hero. And like we had to figure out a way for him to be likable and be him to be relatable because he just came off like very kind of uncaring and unfeeling and callous towards the heroine, and we didn't want that, but like so we had to reconfigure the plot. But and then my favorite one to write was probably this book that's coming out in February called Fangirl Down. So that just really flowed really well and felt like a book that I was meant to write. So yeah.
Well, my easiest book to write is my next book that comes out in June, The Summer Escape. For some reason, that book was a joy. Every day I got up and I knew exactly what I was going to write. And there was no blank pages. And I just loved writing everything about that. It's kind of a madcap mystery, sexy romance where they're on the go all the time and they hate each other at first. And so it was just so much fun. There was so much chemistry and so much bickering, which I kind of like in some weird way. I don't know why I like it, but I do. So that was probably my easiest one. And I actually have to say one of the harder ones was last summer's book, The Sweetheart List, which I had to rewrite a couple of times. And I don't even know why it was hard because I love the characters. I couldn't get it right to save my life. I rewrote that each chapter maybe 3 times.
It's weird. Sometimes it's hard to let go of your original idea and like realize that you need to just have to let it go and start over. Because you don't want to, you've been like living with that story for so long in your head and your gut, and you've written the dialogue and it's there, it's been put in the world, you wrote it. And so like getting rid of it is like, it's like cutting off an arm, honestly.
Yeah. And rewriting something and having to throw away pages, like it hurts to let stuff go.
Totally.
Here's one from Sarah for both of you. What advice would you give someone who wanted to write a romance novel?
Oh boy. Make sure that that's really what you want to do. It's a hard job. It's, I'm 80, I'm not medicated. So for me to have the discipline to sit in the chair to write my pages every day, it can be torture. I cry my way through a rough draft. But on the other hand, it's like I'm uniquely suited for nothing else. So this is what I do. So make sure like it's in your heart because it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I always give 2 pieces of advice to an aspiring writer, and one is write it like your mom isn't going to read it. Like I wrote my first novel like worried about every single line offending my mother, and honestly, or whoever it is for you, whether it's a friend or an uncle or a mentor, don't write it for anybody else. Write it for yourself. Don't worry about who it's offending. You're your own person. You have your own thoughts and feelings and dreams, and you can just write it for yourself, not anybody else. And the second piece of advice I would say is when you finish a manuscript, and you give it to somebody to read it, ask for the good feedback. Ask them what's good about it, what's right
Oh,
about it,
yeah.
what they liked. Don't ask them for anything else. No negativity, because it's so easy to get discouraged when you first start. Like, so easy. And
Even when you haven't first started, it's easy to get
yeah,
discouraged.
it's so like I think for your first time around, just ask for what's good. What would you do right?
That's great advice. Here, just Jen says, please write a book together. Listening to the two of you brainstorm was amazing. So just saying, whole pass,
I'll pass.
whole pass. Tessa
Trademark.
Bailey and Jill Shalvis.
Trademarking that.
Yeah, right there. Whole pass. Oh, here's one from Tiffany. Have you ever wanted to write a novel in a different genre?
Oh, yes. I
And what
have.
is that genre?
Well, I mean, if I could get away, if I thought I could pull it off, I'd be writing fantasy. I just love to read it. It's what I read, and it's scary to think about writing it, but I have a someday story idea in my head someday.
Mine's kind of along those same lines. I've always wanted to write a time travel romance. So maybe
Nice.
someday.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Here's one from Karen. Do you get writer's block? And if so, how do you get through it?
I mean, I get writer's block all the time, but on the other hand, this is a job, this is the mortgage, and this is the food in her belly. So I don't really let my muse tell me she doesn't want to write today. I kind of just, if I seriously can't put words down, then I've written myself in the corner. I have to go back to the last scene and figure out where I went wrong and try again.
It's usually when you went wrong in the last scene, isn't it? Like, I feel like when I don't want to get up and write, it's that I messed up something in
Yep.
the last chapter. And so it's figuring it out and untangling it so you can move forward a lot of the time. But yeah, with writer's block, sometimes I just can't write anything good, but I make sure I'm
Something.
writing anyway. And yeah, like it's a bunch of crap, but like at least I'm still flexing the muscle, because once you stop flexing the muscle, it stops working. So
I
you
think it
have
was Nora Roberts who said, like, put it on the page, even if it's pure shit. You can fix that. You can't fix a blank page. I think that was Nora Roberts.
it was. Yeah, that's exactly right.
But that's exactly true. You can't fix what hasn't been written.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Lori Hall Sanderson always says her rule is butt in chair.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
the hardest rule.
It
it
is.
is.
Just get, and again, I am not a writer, I am a reader, but you can always fix what you've done. You can't fix what is undone. Here's one from Kelly. How do you handle criticism of the romance genre in general?
I mean,
I have plenty of opinions. Yeah, that's one.
Just like that. I don't care anymore. Do we any of us care anymore? I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I mean, we are accounting for so much of the publishing genre, like the publishing industry, I mean, and we are unapologetic now that we like this, and we're demanding what we like, and we are valuable consumers, and I just don't care. Whenever people are like, are you worried about men? I'm like, no, I don't care. I didn't even think about it at all. I don't care what they think or say or do. So like, we're just in, what did Taylor Swift say? Like, no dads, chads, or brads. Like, that's where I'm at. Living that lifestyle.
me too. I mean, no one's ever dared to say anything to my face. I mean, I kind of wish they would, because I actually don't care either. Like, leave me alone. I'm going to leave you alone. Go read something else. I don't care if you don't read my book.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Yeah, I would say two things. As someone who has also read romance since she was 12 or 13 years old and discovered the spinner racks at the Hennepin County Public Library outside of Minneapolis. One, I'm not going to make fun of you for reading literary fiction, so, leave me alone. But number two, I read a book early on in the pandemic called This Is Not a Book About Benedict Cumberbatch by a science reporter named Tabitha Carven. And it is a great exploration of women's interests and fan fiction and fandom. And at the core of it is, when women are young girls and college age, they're so enthusiastic and so committed to what they love and unashamedly share it. And then as you get older and you have jobs and family, and not just children, but like you're a daughter and you're a spouse or a partner and a parent and all the things. You shove that out of the way.
Yeah.
So it's important to make room for the joy. And if that joy comes through romance, if it comes through, watching Percy Jackson on Disney Plus, if it comes through, I don't know, listening to One Direction all the time, do what makes you happy.
Yeah. And it says a lot more about the people who like want to stomp on that than it says about you.
Well,
Exactly.
It's like I would just greet that kind of criticism with dead silence.
Exactly.
And just kind of reflect back on them.
Exactly. It's all about joy. And that's what both of your books bring to us. It brings us joy and connection and satisfaction. So why not embrace that?
Agreed.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
All right. I think that we are coming to the end of our time. And I think that was a pretty good one to end on, but I'm going to ask the last Blue Willow question. We talk about books that I'm going to ask you for 2 book recommendations, and you can pass if it's too hard. One, tell me a book of your heart. It can be something that you've read with a child. It can be something you read that was read to you when you were little. It can be something you read last week. That's number 1, book of your heart. Number 2, tell me a book you're excited about that's not one of your own or each other's.
Okay, well, for me, a book of my heart would be the series that I read with my daughters when they were middle school age. And I know this probably isn't PC anymore, but it's the Harry Potter series. And it's not so much even the books, which I thought were amazing as we read them at the time as they came out, but they brought us, the 4 of us together as a community of a family of people who just loved the stories. And we talked about it, and we listened to the tapes and we read it out loud. And it was just a bonding experience. So that's really stuck with me. I'm very fond of those books for that reason alone. And then a book I'm excited about would be the 3rd Crescent City book by Sarah J. Maas that's coming out. I can't wait.
Is that coming out on January 30th?
Yes.
There's the release date.
We're battening down.
So I would say the book of my heart is probably any Julie Garwood book. I'm gonna have to say probably The Prize is the one that I think about the most. It's just if I could define the characters that I want to write, it would be the characters from the historicals by Julie Garwood. She just but they will stick with me forever. And I would say a book that I'm most excited about is one I just started is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. She wrote 7 Days in June, and she writes the most just like just witty, like just so smart and sexy and rich. And I'm just like, I get to do an event with her in Brooklyn in a couple of weeks. And so I'm reading her book and I'm like, just feeling it so hard. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that.
Amazing. Thank you both for spending time with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone who tuned in. This was absolutely delightful. Like I said, you will get an email probably tomorrow or Friday with a link to our YouTube channel, a link to all the books that we talked about. We just appreciate your support so much from the authors and from everybody who watched. And if you want to get your own special bookmark with a pumpkin bread recipe, be sure to buy The Bright Spot from Blue Willow Bookshop. We will send you that link as well, too. Everybody have a great night, day, whatever time of day it is in the world where you are. Thank you so much. Y'all take care.
Thank you. Night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.